Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness has dropped the clearest hint yet that he will soon announce the date for the country's 18th general election since universal adult suffrage in 1944. Speaking last night to a massive crowd at a gospel concert hosted jointly by the constituency organizations in East and West Portland, Dr. Holness said it should be clear for all to see that the announcement of the date is nigh.
It is by now very clear that very soon there will be an election.
Dr. Andrew Holness, Prime Minister. Nationwide News understands the JLP Secretariat has asked the local authorities and the security forces to make preparations for 3 months in Montego Bay and halfway tree in August. Announced the election in Mandeville, an election the JLP would go on to lose. Portia Simpson Miller announced the date for the 2016 general election and the security forces.
It is by now.
It's the first news of the day. A comprehensive package of local, international, sports, and business news. The news at 6 on Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness has dropped the clearest hint yet that he will soon announce the date for the country's 18th general election since universal adult suffrage in 1944. Speaking last night to a massive crowd at a gospel concert hosted jointly by the constituency organizations in East and West Portland, Dr. Holness said it should be clear for all to see that the announcement of the date is nigh.
It is by now very clear that very soon there will be an election.
Dr. Andrew Holness, Prime Minister. Nationwide News understands the JLP Secretariat has asked the local authorities and the security forces to make preparations for 3 mass meetings in Mandeville, Montego Bay, and Halfway Tree in August. In 2011, Dr. Holness announced the election date in Mandeville, an election the JLP would go on to lose. Portia Simpson Miller announced the date for the 2016 general election in Halfway Tree, an election she and the PNP would lose. While for the 2020 general election, Dr. Holness became the first Prime Minister to announce the date in Parliament. Government Senator Marlon Morgan has dismissed as poorly thought out a proposal by the opposition spokesman on education, Senator Damian Crawford, to extend the school day by 2 hours. Senator Morgan is warning that the move could lead to burnout among both teachers and students. In a strongly worded statement on Sunday, Senator Morgan described the PNP's plan as politically desperate and lacking in substance.
Teachers don't just teach. They have to do their lesson plans and attend to their own family at the end of an already long and demanding school day. Similarly, students have to attend to homework and other activities, and to cram too much into the formal school day would prove counterproductive based on the laws of diminishing marginal returns. What is quite evident at this point is that a politically struggling, desperate, and uninspiring PNP is doing everything in its power to turn attention and resonate with the electorate as an alternative worth considering. Like several other PNP policy proposals, the suggested extension of the school day by 2 hours constitute a proposal that is neither well thought out, coherent, cogent, practical, nor credible. The PNP is just making up things as they go along, quite frankly.
The government senator contrasted the opposition's plan with what he called the measured and the transformative strategy of the Holness-led JLP administration. He says the government's focus is not on merely extending hours, but on elevating the quality of education through targeted and sustainable interventions. He points to the 2022 Patterson Report on Education Reform, which he says guides a series of evidence-based interventions currently underway.
The Andrew Holness-led Jamaica Labour Party government's approach to improving education outcomes and transforming our education system when compared to the policies proposed by the opposition PNP is chalk to cheese. The country may recall that at the direction of Prime Minister Andrew Holness in 2019, a comprehensive study of the post-2004 education system transformation was undertaken, and this culminated in the partisan report of 2022, which contained some 365 recommendations, many of which have already been fully implemented and others are at varying stages of implementation.
Marlon Morgan, government senator. The ruling JLP is calling on opposition leader Mark Golding to break his silence following allegations that PNP caretaker for West St. Thomas, Hubert Williams, is unlawfully occupying government-owned land. In a statement on Sunday, the JLP says it's deeply concerned by reports that the management of SCJ Holdings has formally complained to its board of directors about Williams' alleged illegal occupation of property in St. Thomas. The allegations are outlined in a report dated July 22, 2025. The report claims Williams is unlawfully using approximately 10 acres at Morant Estate and another 5.35 acres at PGR Estate in eastern St. Thomas. According to SCJ Holdings, he has refused to sign lease agreements and now owes nearly $250,000 in lease fees. Williams, who's also counsellor for the White Horses Division, is further accused of attempting to intimidate SCJ Holdings staff during a recent stakeholder meeting. The JLP have labelled the report as troubling, especially in light of Councillor Williams' silence when questioned by the media. The party is calling for a clear position from the PNP president on whether he supports or condemns the reported conduct of his candidate in waiting. The JLP is also calling for an investigation into Councillor Williams' alleged actions by relevant agencies, including the Integrity Commission and Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency MOCA. Neither the PNP nor Williams have responded publicly to the JLP's latest statement. The nation is still coming to grips this morning with the loss of one of its most accomplished and distinguished private sector leaders, Donald George Webby, affectionately known as Don Webby. Don Webby died on Saturday at the age of 62. He served as Group CEO of Grace Kennedy for 14 years. Webby, a former senator and minister, stepped down from the helm of the company in October 2024, citing health reasons. The Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, in mourning the passing of the pioneering business executive, said Webby's passing is a tremendous loss for his loving family. Dr. Holness said in a post on Instagram that Webby's legacy endures in the lives he mentored, in the institutions he helped build, and in the ideals he championed. Meanwhile, the PNP is extending heartfelt condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of Don Webby. The opposition say Webby was a respected figure in both public service and the private sector, whose work left a lasting mark on Jamaica's economic and corporate landscape. It said his tenure at the helm of Grace Kennedy saw significant expansion, innovation, and the strengthening of one of Jamaica's most iconic companies. In his time as Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, he brought the discipline and insight of a private sector leader to the halls of government. Meanwhile, the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica says it is deeply saddened by the passing of Don Webby. They describe him as a transformational business leader, a committed public servant, and long-standing friend and partner of the PSOJ. Meanwhile, Government Senator Abka Fitzhenley described the death of Don Webby as a great loss to the JLP and the nation. Senator Fitzhenley notes that Webby was a distinguished patriot who served the country in several fields, including private business, public service, and sport.
The passing of Don Webby represents a major loss to the Jamaica Labour Party and the Jamaican family on a whole. Don served his country with great distinction across a number of sectors, including the public and private sectors and the sporting fraternity. Our thoughts go out to his family, in particular his wife Hillary, his son Nicholas, and his daughters Stephanie and Abigail. They can be comforted that the Jamaican son, the distinguished son of Jamaica, Don Webby, has served his country. He has played a good innings, and he is resting comfortably in the arms of our Lord and Savior. We're shocked in the Jamaica Labour Party concerning the loss of Don, but we endeavour to honour his tremendous legacy.
Government Senator Abka Fitzhenley. There's an urgent appeal this morning for players in the construction industry to ensure that debris from construction activities is properly containerized. Executive Director of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, Audley Gordon, says the entity has observed a growing trend of construction waste being mixed with household garbage. He's warning that the NSWMA trucks are not equipped to transport construction debris.
The garbage you generate around your kitchen and around your house, that's what we expect to see bagged and put at your gate. Not your construction debris. If you are doing refurbishing, if you are building, you ought to make proper arrangement to remove whatever waste is generated from your construction, from your refurbishing. And that's something that we can't push often enough because we are seeing way too much construction debris and debris from refurbishing broken tiles, old zinc, old boards, etc. being intermixed with the regular domestic garbage. First of all, that damage our compactor when you put old tiles and all that stuff in it, old boards and so on. But that's not what the compactor were designed for.
Meanwhile, Gordon is urging private garbage haulage contractors to meet their obligations. The issue came to the fore last Saturday when a newspaper report highlighted a garbage buildup at a prominent hospital in the corporate area. Although the collection of the garbage is not the responsibility of the NSWMA, some readers blamed the state entity for the situation. Gordon says the matter is not isolated as the NSWMA has to intervene on several occasions to remove garbage that should have been collected by private contractors.
Time and time again, we have to be chipping in to help our ministry here, our hospital there, and that puts severe strain and stress on our limited budget that come from the property taxes. So we ask that people who enter into, and we even invite more people to enter into private haulage of garbage. There is a genuine business there to be exploited, but we ask that people, when they get into these arrangements, it must be taken very seriously because once the garbage is not collected, once people see garbage anywhere, doesn't matter, the first entity that turn their wrath on is the NSWMA.
Audley Gordon, Executive Director of the NSWMA. As Jamaicans battle the effects of ongoing drought conditions, the Jamaica Environment Trust is warning that unless steps are taken to address climate challenges, the country should brace for even worse impact in the future. Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody is the CEO of JET.
We're going to have extended dry periods. We're going to have less rainfall at certain times. And when we do have rainfall, sometimes it's going to be so intense that it results in flooding. Now, how do we deal with that? We can adapt to it. We can change the way how we build houses. We can plant more trees. And we can also mitigate. But we have to start doing it now. We have to be conscious about these decisions, and we have to understand that it's not a quick fix. It's not going to change back. We have to actually just accept that this is a new normal that we have to start living with.
Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody, CEO of JET. Drought conditions have prompted the NWC, that's the National Water Commission, to restrict supply to customers in Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, and St. Thomas. There has been a steady decline in water levels at the Hermitage Dam and Mona Reservoir, the two major storage facilities that serve residents in the corporate area. As the general election draws nearer, the tone of the political campaign is growing increasingly volatile as multiple reports of vandalism, intimidation, and violence surface across constituencies. As we hear in this report from Roby and Williams, tensions are escalating.
The latest flashpoint is Eastern St. Thomas, where JLP Member of Parliament Dr. Michelle Charles has accused supporters of the opposition PNP of systematically removing her campaign materials and physically assaulting one of her supporters. Dr. Charles confirmed that a police report has been filed regarding the alleged attack. The allegations follow earlier complaints from PNP supporters in the same constituency who claimed that their campaign paraphernalia, including that of caretaker and councillor Yvonne Rosemarie Shaw, had also been removed or destroyed. Images and videos circulating online appear to support the claims from both sides. Torn billboards were seen in Leith Hall and other sections of Eastern St. Thomas. One video shows a man using a stick to dismantle a billboard bearing political messaging. Similar tensions are reported in East Central St. Catherine, where JLP Member of Parliament Orlando Terrelong accused the PNP of engaging in political sabotage. This, he says, is reminiscent of what he calls the 1970s PNP style of vandalism and intimidation. Terrelong is being challenged by PNP caretaker Raymond Price. Photos obtained by Nationwide News show the words PNP, PNP Zone 1, and One Price MP spray-painted on roads in the Southborough community. Meanwhile, in Southwest St. Anne, PNP caretaker Danishka Williams has also raised concerns, saying several of her campaign boards have been deliberately removed and she has experienced ongoing political intimidation. In response to the growing tensions, the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, in its role as political ombudsman last week, issued an urgent appeal for calm. The commission urged all political parties and their supporters to refrain from destroying or defacing campaign material, warning that such actions only serve to escalate hostility and undermine the democratic process. Robeanne Williams for Nationwide News.
Thank you, Robian. Regional and international news after these.